Give me a sec here. User malfunction, but everybody roll in. I'll get on this in a minute, but I hit a story of my life. I hit the wrong button. I'm like the guy who was in charge of the Hawaiian notification of whether or not there was going to be an attack. So let me get Facebook up and running too, and we'll be officially underway here momentarily. Let me get Facebook up. I'm doing my T's here. I was trying to edit and make the words a little bit further apart, and instead I accidentally hit the live button. So give me a sec. All right. Yeah, as much as you would like to think that I would be flawless at running this machine yet, so far I am not yet flawless. All right, here we go. Let me get my water, and I shall return. All right. This is what happens when you wear a Bama shirt. All right, ready? Here we go. Let's go ahead and get live with Facebook. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Welcome into Outkick the Show. I am your fearless leader. Appreciate all of you coming to join me on a wild snow day in Nashville. Just literally coming in from the slopes, i.e. some big hills in the neighborhood. Lots of fun. We've got like 3 inches of snow now. There were none this morning. We got a lot to get to. I want to tell you, go to OddsShark for all your gambling and informational related needs. And I want to tell you as well, my guys at thehomeloanexpert.com will take care of you when it comes to getting a new mortgage. Lots of you starting off 2018, you want to turn a 4% into a 2%. You want to skip some payments. Get your financial house in order. What you need to do is get to my friends at The Home Loan Expert, and you will be good to go. We got some Blake Bortles fans in the house. You mentioned Blake Bortles, you get blocked, and you never return. Blake Bortles is trash. Not going to allow him to overtake this show. All right. Appreciate all of you. My name is Clay Travis. This is Outkick the Show. I also want to tell you, in addition to a lot of other things that I've got going on, I have got our law firm. Outkick the Law Firm is up and running. We can represent you for anything. I'll put you in touch with the best lawyers to handle your case. Go to, I believe it's outkicklaw.com. Will somebody verify that that's correct? Let me pull out my phone and make sure that's correct. I believe it's Outkick Law. We can handle any of your cases all over the country. In particular, I'll make sure that you get a good attorney wherever you need to go in the country. As we have grown, so has Outkick Law. And let me see what happens here. Let me see the actual web address, which you would think that I would know the web address. Yeah, outkicklaw.com. If you need a lawyer anywhere in the country, go to outkicklaw.com. You'll get hooked up. We'll take care of you. And that is the story here. This is the kind of show prep you don't get anywhere else. All right, if you guys listen to the morning show this morning, I don't know how many of you listen to the morning show, but I can tell by some of the comments that I'm seeing right now, this thing is blown up in terms of the number of you who are listening to the show. Opaque is the word of the day in the comments. I don't know if you listened this morning, but Jason Martin, we had a 1/4 of an inch of snow on the ground, and Jason Martin claimed it was impossible for him to actually get into the studio. And so as a result, the show went off the rails, much like this one. And I would encourage you guys to go watch it and hang out. Jason Martin blew it. He's going to be in studio tomorrow. You can always call 855-500-CLAY. That's our voicemail line. You can reach it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. And you can tee off on Jason Martin for not coming in today. That's 855-500-CLAY. We play the best voicemails that you guys leave, and I would imagine there are going to be a bunch of them. All right, may have to fire him. Got to tune in tomorrow morning. No tell what might actually happen. We got 3 inches of snow here. I'll get to that in a minute. But NFL playoff ratings have hit a 10-year low. Here's the rundown of what we're hitting today. Hugh Freeze to Bama, potentially as the next OC. Snow has taken over the Southland, and who's going to be the next Titans coach? Our friends at OddsShark have laid the odds on who is going to be the next Titans coach. But let's start with NFL playoff ratings. Guys, not a conspiracy figure guy, right? I don't run around talking a lot about conspiracy figures by and large. I think what happens a lot is if the story doesn't please the media, it disappears. If it doesn't fulfill an existing narrative, it disappears. If it makes television partners nervous, it disappears. NFL playoff ratings for the divisional round hit a 10-year low on Saturday and Sunday. That is a massive story. Absolutely, insanely massive story that would have me terrified if I were an NFL owner. If I were an NFL owner, I would be terrified that our ratings suddenly dropped 10%. That's a holy shit moment. That's a let's have all hands on deck and discuss what has actually happened. The protest is having an impact. I think it's impossible for anybody to argue anything else at this point in time because 3 of the 4 games were actually really good. And even the Titans game was good for a third of it. It wasn't like it immediately turned into a 35-0 game. But 3 of these games, effectively the Rams and the Falcons came down to almost the final play of the game. The Julio Jones throw into the end zone on Saturday. Pretty phenomenal game. If you were gambling, everything was at stake. About as good of a game as you could have. On Sunday, obviously we got an instant classic in the end of the game between the Saints and the Vikings that went back and forth. The entire third and fourth quarter was riveting must-watch football. And the game between the Jags and the Steelers was actually outstanding as well. On Sunday, the NFL could not have had a more entertaining product. And on Saturday and Sunday, big brands were involved. Tom Brady, Sunday, Ben Roethlisberger, Drew Brees, cities that have tremendous followings, Philadelphia, Atlanta, and the NFL ratings still tanked. Close games in 3 out of the 4. And I got to be honest. I got to be honest with you. I think that the NFL needs to apologize to its fan base. I think that the fan base that honored and supported the NFL was totally lost their respect for the NFL and abandoned it. I've been on this for a while, but it's happened in my own family. My uncle, who is a diehard football fan, won't watch the NFL. He fought in Vietnam, feels like the players are disrespecting him. They're making millions of dollars off of him, won't watch the NFL. My father-in-law, I told this story before, but at Thanksgiving this year, he wouldn't put on the Detroit Lions game. He's been watching the Detroit Lions on Thanksgiving for 50 years. This is becoming a major issue for the NFL. All right? This is becoming a major issue for the NFL that they have forgotten that the people who pay their salaries, the people who pay the NFL salaries are the fans. And I think the players forgot it, and I think the owners forgot it, and I think they were stunned and are stunned by the rapidity with which 2 years ago they were on top of the mountain. Since then, they have fallen 20%. The television partners in the league, according to people that I talk to, are going to lose over $500 million off the projections they made at the beginning of the year. And that's becoming progressively worse once you get into the playoffs, where by and large the money is more intense and the audiences are more substantial. The ratings driving off a cliff is because they have alienated their base. The base of the NFL supports Donald Trump. They voted for Donald Trump for president. People don't understand this, but I talked about this when you watch the election results come in. You may not like it. You may hate Donald Trump. Football fans voted for Donald Trump. Look at the results of the election. I talked about how Donald Trump won the election because I haven't heard anybody else talk about this, the College Football Coalition. Donald Trump won every SEC state. He won every Big 12 state, and he won every traditional Big 10 state with the exception of Minnesota, which he almost won, and Illinois, which is basically an East Coast or West Coast state at this point in terms of the way that its people voted. He flipped Michigan, he flipped Wisconsin, he flipped Pennsylvania, and he dominated on Ohio. Okay? The College Football Coalition got Donald Trump elected. The executives who are making decisions about the NFL are primarily on the East Coast and they're primarily on the West Coast. And their bubble insulates them from the people who voted for Donald Trump. And this reminds me of what happened, guys. This happens so often in media, and this happens so often in business, and it happens so often in products. Do you remember last year when I came out and I was supposed to go to some event for Jack Fire, the new cinnamon whiskey that they were bringing out from Jack Daniels? And I think they were going to pay me like $3,000 to show up and send one tweet and get my picture taken. And then I went public and said, you know what? I disagree with the decision of Vanderbilt University to sandblast the word Confederate off of a campus building. And Jack Daniels contacted me and said, you're not allowed to appear at our event anymore. I said, wait a minute here. I'm not allowed to appear at your event anymore? And they said, no. You can't have the opinion that the word Confederate should be left on a building and be able to be affiliated with Jack Daniels. And a New Yorker, if you guys don't know this story, his New York ad agency called me up. And they said, we'd appreciate if you kept this quiet. First of all, when you tell me we'd appreciate if you keep this quiet, motherfucker, I'm going public as soon as I hang up my phone. I am not the kind of guy who sits back quietly when somebody makes a stupid decision. I said, listen to me. Jack Daniels, it's going to be the worst day in social media history for your brand if you actually follow through on this decision. Do you understand who actually drinks Jack Daniels? It's not hipsters in bars in Brooklyn who are making Jack Daniels a multi-billion-dollar company. It's my base. It's Southern guys. It's Midwestern guys. It's people in the heartland of the country. That's where they actually drink Jack Daniels, and they do it unironically. They show up, they fucking pour whiskey into a glass, and they drink it because they fucking love it. And do you know what those people do? They watch college football. They also will drink beer. They like pretty girls. We're not sitting around talking about the guys who are troubled by the objectification of a woman in a bathing suit. All right? That's the way they used to advertise beer and liquor. And then they all decided, you know what? We're being chauvinistic. We're going to go after the Brooklyn hipster who we see, and we're going to test market. And I said, guys, it's going to be ugly for you. I said, moreover, Jack Daniels himself would have fought for the Confederacy if he had been old enough to do it. His brothers fought for the Confederacy. The founders of your company are not going to be happy, and the heartland of your brand drinkers are not going to be happy over this decision. But they didn't know that because these pipsqueak pussies in marketing who live in New York and who live in LA and have no idea who actually drinks their brand made the decision, oh, you know what, Clay Travis can't show up for a Jack Daniels event because he actually believes that Civil War history is more complicated than just sandblasting the word Confederate off of a building in a city like Nashville, where he's born and raised, from a university that he's a double graduate school alum from. Now, you can disagree with me. That's perfectly fine. But what I found troubling was my opinion wasn't even allowed. And it wasn't even allowed by a brand like Jack Daniels, which is unbelievable to me. Again, this goes to my point about MS, ESPN, and everything else. I'm a First Amendment absolutist. I'm perfectly fine with people disagreeing with my opinion all the time, right? I don't expect for everybody out there to agree with me all the time. As I always say on the radio show, you don't have to agree with me. You can be wrong. But what I believe in is a robust debate and marketplace of ideas, okay? So when they shut it down, it's amazing to me how the NFL did the exact same thing. The NFL didn't realize, with the exception of a few owners, and guess where those owners are located? Jerry Jones down in Texas. Guys who understand where their brand support comes from saw the national anthem protest as a bad deal. And guess what? Donald Trump is an intuitive politician. He may not plan anything, but he goes out and speaks, and people respond to what he says, and he decides based on those responses what is going to play well to his base. And look at Donald Trump's profile picture right now. Do you know what it is? It's Donald Trump standing up for the national anthem at the college football national title game between Alabama and Georgia. For his base, When he walked out on that field at the Alabama-Georgia game, what he was basically doing was sticking a middle finger up at ESPN and everybody else in the coastal elites who he believed were denigrating legitimate football fans. He stood up for the national anthem right there on ESPN in front of 27 million people and stuck a big middle finger right in the direction of the NFL. And you may not like Donald Trump, but his base has followed him. NFL had 3 awesome games this weekend. 3 awesome divisional round games. Now, I watched them all. I'm not going to sit back and stop watching the NFL. I said before, if the NFL came out in favor of ISIS, I would still watch the NFL games because I'm entertained by them. But I do know that there are millions of people in this country who made the decision, I'll no longer watch the NFL. And it used to be the heartbeat of the league that they could rely on. Think about the people that the NFL's trying to placate. They're not football fans. People out there who are worried about Colin Kaepernick, by and large, are not football fans. People who show up at Colin Kaepernick protests, they're not watching 7 hours of football every day. The NFL made a major strategic error. They tried to placate people who didn't care about their product, and in the space, what they should have been doing was trying to take care of their actual base. And they lost their base while trying to pursue people who didn't care about their product anyway. That isn't remotely complicated. But they are worried about the East Coast elite, they're worried about the West Coast elite, and they have lost the fingerprint and the pulse of where their fan base actually resides. Donald Trump won NFL fans. May not like it. You may be watching this right now like, I hate Donald Trump. He's a racist. He's a sexist. He's the worst president of all time. You can have all those opinions. Doesn't mean you're right, but you're entitled to your opinions. But the base of Donald Trump is NFL fans. And so the NFL has lost a substantial portion of their base. And for what? They haven't gained anybody. They haven't gained social justice warriors. Your average Brooklyn social justice warrior is not sitting down and watching 9 hours of NFL football and cracking open beer and kicking back and unironically having a good time watching football. Your average left-wing media member who doesn't watch football has been driving the bus, and the NFL has crashed. And these ratings should be a massive story, but nobody's talking about them. Do you know why nobody's talking about them? Because the NFL is finally starting to recognize what I've been telling you for the last 2 years. They've got a major issue on their hands. And they have blown it. And I got to give credit. If you could go back in time, David Stern deserves like $100 million bonus from the NBA. Because David Stern foresaw that this could be a problem for his league one day. And he mandated that every player stand for the national anthem. And the NBA may have its issues with Chris Paul running into the locker room, Trevor Ariza, James Harden, all that situation that happened in LA, but it's just soap opera drama. It's good for ratings, draws attention, doesn't actually create any substantive difference. The NBA, nobody talks about the fact that every player has stood for the entire year. Absolutely nobody discussing it at all. If Roger Goodell had been intelligent, instead of worrying about the personal conduct policy and deciding that he had to suspend guys for everything that happened off the court and off the field, he would have instituted a policy that everybody had to stand for a national anthem. Now, my compromise that I have suggested is pretty straightforward. If you don't stand for the national anthem, you get fined a set amount, and all of that money goes to the Wounded Warriors Fund. I think it would solve the issue right now. I think the NFL should hire me to actually make the issue take place. You want to solve the protesting issue. If you decide that you won't stand for the national anthem, then you put $50,000 on the table, whatever percentage of your paycheck that is, and it goes directly to the wounded war veterans in America today. Period. Solve it. Somebody says, would that be legal in the CBA? Make them challenge you. The personal conduct policy wasn't legal under the CBA. Make the NFL Players Association sue you for mandating that they stand for the national anthem. Fighting the players will win back the base because the base will say, damn, that's a strong play. That's a good move. So that is the solution. This might be the only place today you hear about the NFL divisional round playoffs tanking. I think if you put that money in a Wounded Warriors Fund, then not standing for the national anthem wouldn't have the same sting. If I were an owner right now, That's what I'd be mandating. I don't know. There might be an owner watching this. I've heard that a lot of NFL execs, front office people will sometimes watch Outkick the Show. If there's any owners watching right now, that's the compromise that I would push. And I think it's a good one. If people decide they want to kneel, more power to them. But it's going to cost you $50,000. We all have obligations at work, unless you're Jason Martin and you decide not to come in because it snowed. And that, my friend, would be the perfect solution. So that, I think, is the way to solve this. Okay. Have not fired J Mart yet. Hugh Freeze to Bama. Hugh Freeze to Bama is, I think, a genius move. I was told yesterday that Hugh Freeze interviewed for the offensive coordinator job with Nick Saban and that it went really well. And that as a result of that going so well, there's a pretty decent chance that Hugh Freeze could become one of, if not the offensive coordinator, a high-level coach for Alabama. I think that would be a phenomenal hire. I think it would be an incredible hire that potentially could put Alabama just totally in the driver's seat in a way that they aren't even right now. You bring in Hugh Freeze, the only guy who could dominate the Alabama defense, scored a lot of points, and you would score a ton of points. You probably could play a faster style football, which Saban has the depth to be able to do, and they would be unstoppable. They would be the equivalent of USC back in the Leinart years, because I think Tua is going to be a phenomenal player. So I think that was incredible. Yes, the SEC has been discouraging it. Tennessee tried to hire Hugh Freeze. Missouri tried to hire Hugh Freeze. LSU tried to hire Hugh Freeze. None of them had the cachet that Nick Saban does. Nick Saban can snap his fingers and make anything happen. He's willing to take the flack from the league. I think he is the only person who is actually able to do it in the SEC. He's the only guy who has won enough. He's got his redemption process there. He's the island of misfit toys. And right now, Alabama offensive coordinators have the longevity of defense against the dark arts teachers and Harry Potter. Boom! Harry Potter reference for all you youngsters out there. In the past 13 months, Bama has gone through 4 offensive coordinators. And as a result, I think if you look at what happened with Kiffin, if you look at what happened with Sarkisian, across the board, this is a phenomenal decision. By the way, give me a verdict on the Harry Potter reference there. Was that incredible? Was that an incredible Harry Potter reference? Did I just blow your minds with that Harry Potter reference? Defense against the dark arts, if that was on the chart today. 7 out of 10? Incredible. That's an incredible reference. Incredible reference. I got to be honest with you. I'm telling you right now, Hugh's recent interview on Outkick the Coverage, there's no doubt it definitely helped. And I don't think there's any doubt that he will be a high-level coach in the near future. So I think, again, a big-time play would be Hugh Freeze to Alabama. And credit to Saban. Look, I don't think Nick Saban gets enough credit for being fearless, even though he's dominating. Even though Nick Saban is dominating, he's still willing to take risks. Years ago, 3 years ago when he hired Lane Kiffin, everybody said, oh my God, this is going to be a disaster. Can you believe Nick Saban brought in Lane Kiffin? And guess what happened? Lane Kiffin killed it. They went to 3 straight college football playoffs with 3 straight new coaches. And unbelievably, Kiffin is redeemed now at FAU. Sark comes in as a drunk alcoholic. Now he's the head coach the offensive coordinator of the Falcons. I think it's incredible. I think it's an incredible performance all around and just an incredible, outstanding move by Nick Saban that doesn't get enough attention. Doesn't get enough attention how incredible that decision is. So I appreciate you saying that I've got the best show, hands down, no doubt at all. Okay, Snow. Or any more questions about Hugh Freeze on Facebook or on Twitter? Any from you guys? I think Hurts will transfer. I don't think he'll transfer to FAU. I think he'll transfer to a big school. He was too good, I believe, to transfer to FAU. I think it's more likely that he will transfer to a big school than that he will go to a place like that. So I think Bama, if they had Hugh Freeze, would average 45 points a game easy. I don't think he'd be allowed to transfer in the SEC. If I were predicting, I'd say the University of Texas. Hurts is from the state of Texas. I don't think he would be allowed to transfer to any SEC school. If I were betting right now, I would say the University of Texas would be the most likely destination for Jalen Hurts. I don't believe he'll be allowed to transfer inside the conference. I think he'll want to go back closer to home. I think the University of Texas would be the best pick. Okay, snow hit. Snow hit, and it was a awesome day here. You can go check out my Twitter feed. We went sledding. Now, Jason Martin, I want to make it clear. And some people were saying, oh, it looks like Jason Martin maybe was right that he couldn't come in. The snow did not really start to fall until around 10 o'clock Central Time. And then it came down pretty heavily. But prior to that, there was no snow on the ground. When we finished the show, I remember I'm on 5 to 8 a.m. Central, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. We finished the show. There was no snow at all. Yes, we sledded. We had an awesome time. We probably got 3 or 4 inches here, or as they like to call it, 7 inches for men. 3 or 4 inches here, and we had an awesome time on the slopes, or the hills in the neighborhood. My kids were out. You can go check the video. We had some of that. Really cool time. It doesn't snow here very often. We've lived in this house for 3 years, and I think we've had 3 snowfalls total, only 2 of which were big enough to get the sleds out. Not the kind of guy who likes to brag, but I did buy 2 sleds this year at Costco just on the off chance that it might snow. The sleds worked well. My 3-year-old, my 7-year-old, my 9-year-old, everybody had an unbelievable time. So it was a pretty phenomenal day here in the neighborhood. All right. It does not snow in Nashville every year. It does not snow in Nashville every year. In fact, there have been several years when I've been snow czar where absolutely nothing has happened. So you're wrong. That is, in fact, fake news. All right. OddsShark, my friends at OddsShark put out odds on who the next head coach was going to be at the University of Tennessee, at Tennessee Titans. And this is an intriguing list. I don't know if you guys saw this, but this is an intriguing list of available candidates that you can bet on. This is from my friends at OddsShark. You can go to oddshark.com, or you can check them out on my Twitter feed. Mike Vrabel, the defensive coordinator of the Houston Texans, 3-1. John DeFilippo, I believe, is with the Philadelphia Eagles, I think, 4-1. Matt LaFleur, who is, and by the way, I don't know NFL coaches as well as I do college coaches, so a lot of these guys I don't know. Matt LaFleur, I can't even keep up with exactly where Matt LaFleur was. Jim Bob Cooter, former University of Tennessee quarterback, current offensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. Steve Wilkes, I don't know him at all. Frank Reich, I know he was the former quarterback for the Bills back in the day. And then Jim Schwartz, who's been the defensive coordinator for the Titans as well as the head coach of the Detroit Lions. All of those guys are the favorites. Again, all of them 7.5 to 1 or less. That is 7 different names on the list of the available coaching candidates. I think if you're going to go with Vrabel, who is the favorite, he needs to have an incredible offensive coordinator hire, because I watched really bad offensive coordination for the last couple of years. I want explosiveness. I want game planning. Even the Jags, the fullback dive that they got a touchdown pass on that gave them 42 points. Just a beautiful play where it's almost impossible to defend. You've been running Leonard Fournette all day. You go straight through with the fullback, hit him for a touchdown. No telling how long they saved that, but I absolutely loved it. I absolutely loved everything about it. It was schematic. It was an advantage. Certainly Josh McDaniels would be incredible. If you watch the game between the Titans and the Titans and the Patriots, the Patriots scored at least 2 touchdowns just based on schematic advantage. The Titans had no idea it was coming. One on the goal line, the other on an easy pitch from Brady to tie the game at 7. That was a coaching mismatch. I credit the Titans for making the decision to get rid of him. I think you have to, and otherwise it would have been a disaster. It would have been a disaster if you had made a decision otherwise. I'll do some rapid fire here for a couple of minutes. Again, my name is Clay Travis. Go to Outkick the Show. Go to OutkickLaw.com. If you need a lawyer for any reason, fill out the referral form, and we'll get you the best possible lawyer in touch with you to handle whatever you need. OutkickLaw.com. Also, go to OddsShark and go to my friends at thehomeloanexpert.com. We definitely will. J-Mart is, again, I would encourage you guys to tune in to the show tomorrow. Jason Martin not showing up for work because of this quarter inch of snowfall that we got. Been incredibly controversial, much to be resolved. May have to have a trial of J-Mart, let callers react to it tomorrow morning in hour one. What should his punishment be? What's acceptable? What's unacceptable? Some people say, don't take everything in public. Don't take everything in public. Everything that happens related to the show is a full story. So if it happens, it's a full story. I'm not going to run at all. Odds J-Mart cries on air tomorrow. Hugh Freeze cried on air. If J-Mart has any sense of decency, he might cry as well on the show tomorrow. I'm not sure. He might cry. Odds, we need the guys at the offshores to set some odds that J-Mart might cry. My mom also called in. My mom called in because she thought I was being too mean to J-Mart. Might have to bring in my mom more regularly just to check things. She said it was too mean. She texted me and said, you're being too mean to J-Mart. He shouldn't have come in because of the snow. She's a traditional old Southern woman. And she believed I was too mean. She's wrong. She was right that I'm the greatest son of all time, but my mom was wrong about me being too mean to J-Mart because he couldn't come in for the snowfall. If I make it in, you have to be there. I agree with you. Bortles just threw an interception. J-Mart has to write his name in the snow and drink lots of water. Uh-oh. I haven't even been looking at the comments that much, but some Blake Bortles fans are trying to get in, and the only thing faster than my blocking of Blake Bortles fans is the rapidity with which he will be eliminated from AFC title contention once the game starts on Sunday in Foxborough. Okay, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for coming to hang out. You can go follow me on Twitter at Clay Travis. Check out OutkickLaw.com. Go to Oddshark.com and go to thehomeloanexpert.com. Good 2018 coming. Almost booked all the way across the board. I love all of you. And my name is Clay Travis. And this has been Outkick the Show. DBAP, don't be a pussy. And prayers up for Blake Bortles. It's going to be a disaster for him. My name is Clay Travis, and this has been Outkick the Show.